Okay, great. Okay, so today I am first of all starting with calculated fields. Very important aspect of Tableau, and you can do lot many things with that. So what are calculated fields? So calculated fields, as the name suggests, are nothing but calculated fields. Okay, so what it means is these fields, these columns are coming from our data, right? So you know where our data is. Our data is in the data source, imported from, in this case, Excel file, and we have imported one Excel sheet from that Excel file, and we have multiple columns coming in here, right? So if we want to create a new column here, let's say over here, I want to create another column, which is, let's say, sales divided by 100, or maybe profit divided by some number, something like that, right? Or maybe there's sales and quantity too, so maybe sales divided by quantity for sales per unit sales price, something like that. Okay, so if I want to create a new column here, I'll need to create it using a calculated field. One of the ways is calculated. So now let's see how it works. So in this case, let's say we have sales here, right? Sales column, and quantity. I'm just trying to see which would be a good idea. So discount, this is profit, quantity. See how the sales are rendered here. The good practically. Let's do one thing. I see that discount is in decimal. So let's multiply it with 100, get discount in percentage. Just a random thing, right? So I'll create a new calculated field which will convert this discount into a number, absolute number, because right now these are in decimal. So I'll multiply this discount by 100 and I'll call it discount as percentage, right? So how do you introduce a calculated field? I'm repeating again for everybody's benefit. We are right now doing calculated field, and how you get the calculated field is from here. You see this one, the drop down menu here, guys. You click here, you see this option, create calculated field, create parameter, and other options. So just you have this search bar, extreme right, you see the drop down menu, click here, create calculated. The moment you do it, you get this field. Now this is where you write the name of a calculation. By default it will write calculation 1 2 3 4 as I mean the number would be as many calculations you have done. But if you want your own custom name, you can write I'm creating a field which is discount as percentage, because I'm multiplying it with 100, right? So discount as percentage is, but how is it calculated? It is actually this field multiplied by 100. So to get this field here, what you do is you write the name of this field. The moment you write first few characters of this field, it will give you this option. Also, you see that the moment I start typing, it gives me some other variables, some other names here. So what are all these? If you see, when I type D, I get all these things starting with D, and a small icon which says F is mentioned here, small letter F, right? So this means this is an inbuilt function. All the F here are inbuilt function. If I see a hash or like symbols like this ABC, this diagonal, this globe, this ABC again, calendar, all these would be the fields coming from my data. So again, let's do it. If I type D, I see all these are functions, inbuilt functions, and rest are the fields coming from my data over here. If I further write the full name, it will give me corresponding option, and discount is the field. So I click here and I get this field. So basically I get this column. How do I know it's a column? Because it is enclosed within the square bracket, right? So this is the discount column, and if I multiplied this with 100, I'll get my discount as percentage column, which is a discount in decimal multiplied with 100. And if I have written it correctly over here, I should get the calculation is valid over here. This, because if I don't do it like this, what it will do is it will say the calculation contains an error. It will also give you a hint, if I mean to the extent it can give, about the kind of error it there is, so I can accordingly fix it. And this is my calculated field, and this calculation is valid, which is means I have written correct formula here. Now if I say apply, so I hope you might have noticed that this field has been added here. How do I identify it's a calculated field? Because a normal field will have a hash or ABC or a globe sign or a calendar sign. A calculated field will have the underlying data type, which is string ABC, geographical role with the globe sign, or a calendar with the for date, what do you say, date for a column which is like a date, and it will be it will have a prefix which will be a small equal to sign. It would be something like this. If I have a field, will be equal to and then hash. The small equal to sign, see here, if it clearly, carefully, let me also just for people who are not able to snip it and show it to you. See this one sign, this is the there, this one. You see this equal to and hash. This is a symbol. This symbol equal to and hash. This is what a calculated field looks like. Okay. No, I have this calculated field. Now, another way to check, I mean, one way to check this field is you click on this data and you will see most likely on the extreme right, if not otherwise. Generally, it comes to the extreme right, but this time it has come here. It depends on Tableau. It could be at the extreme right, or it could be somewhere here. I get this discount, and then this is the calculated field, discount as percentage, right? I click here, then it sorts. You see what is happening is this number is being multiplied by 100. I get a number here, multiplied by 100. 0.45 into 100, I get 45. This new column comes in from the calculated field. So this is how you create a calculated field. Now, there are multiple functions, multiple features that you can use calculate things over here. But generally, for very basic mathematical calculations, you can use calculated field for the time being, and then you can graduate, or you can kind of scale up to the next higher levels of creating the calculated. So this is how calculated created. Any doubts over here? Now I have a calculated field over here. So what is the, how can we use it in our practical application? So apart from doing mathematical calculations, which would be required many times, the raw data, you can also use it to do so many other things. I'll give you one example. Let's say I have this sales figure over here, right? Just randomly, I'm just trying to create some practical example for you. So if I let everything here, again, I'm just off the cuff trying to do something for you. See that so I mean, I could have actually copied the time. So let me check. I'll just directly, I'm trying to see how my sales figure look. So course, let's do it this way. The way to do it. So if I look at my data, okay, and if I see sales figure here, there are different approaches to data. The sales figure, if I click on the column here, I see the lowest sale is 0.44. Let me make a note of it here. I know my minimum sales is, I could actually use a formula also to do that. Now let me also see the maximum sale. My maximum sales here, if I click it again, it will sort it descending order. So I get the maximum sale here. This is this this much, 2638.48. That's the number. This is the maximum sales. And also, what is the average sales? So maybe what I can do is I can take the sales here. Would have done it actually. Is sum of sales. So I don't need the sum of sales. I need minimum 1.89. There might be some values in between which are behaving abruptly. That's why we have here. Don't worry. I just need some dummy numbers here. And then maximum is 4416. 4416. Average is, you can even do it in X, 49 350. What I'm doing here is I will create bins. So this is a binning problem. I am using calculated field to create a bin. What is a bin? I hope everybody knows, but let me superstore data. I hope everybody is also trying to do it on them. I mean, not now, but I mean, okay. So if you see this data, I have sales over here, right? And this sales figure, I want to see whether it lies between this range or between this range. So I will see if this is below 350 and above 1.892, then it is bin 1. So this was my bin 1, which I'll say low sales. And if it is above 350, between this, which means 350 is the differentiating number. Anything below 350 is low, anything above 350 is high sale, because it is above 350. I'll just keep it very simple for the time being. So let's keep it really simple. Let's ignore this also. Anything below this 350 is, so below 350 sales is what? Low sales, and above 350 sales is my high sales. Let's keep it simple like this. And I will use a calculated field to create a bin. So basically what will happen is, if I was using Excel and I say my sales, what my sales bin looks like, say my sales bin. So I'll say if, don't worry if you don't know this formula, I'm just showing you how it works in Excel. I'll say if this sales is less than 350, excuse me, then it is low. Okay, so I'll say it is low, else it is high. So this way, if I drag it down, I'll get this bin, low sales and high sales. Understood? I mean, I don't want you to understand how Excel being done in Excel, but I hope you understand the concept that how you create a column which has different bins. Now you could have also said that between this to this is bin 1, between this bin 2, bin 3, bin 4, as many bins you want. Right now we have how many bins? Just 2 bins, low and high. Okay. Now how do we do it in Tableau? So if I have to create another column which has low and high, what I'll do is I'll create a, so let's create another calculated field. I want you all to repeat with me as I'm typing on my Tableau desktop. So you create a calculated field and name it as sales underscore bin. Sales underscore bin. What I'll say is I can write an if condition here in Tableau. How do you write an if condition in Tableau? You say if. Okay. So and the moment you write if, gives you this option. Click on this if. Now after typing if, you say if my sales column, so you say if sales, so sales column, so you see the moment you select that column, it encloses it within square brackets. So which means if this column is less than how much, 350, you can ignore these gaps. I'm just adding them for your readability, doesn't impact your calculation. If sales is less than 350, then what, then I want to call it a low sales, else call it as high sales. Then at the end you have end. Now if everything is correct, you will get the calculation is valid. Not, for example, if I forget to put an end here, the calculation contains an error. I can just this drop down menu, let's say expected end to match if at character 0, which means end is required. It gives you a hint what the error is. Now it's perfectly fine. I say apply and then OK. So now if I see my data, I will have a column be sales bin. It's already added here, sales bin, sales underscore bin. Over here, sales bin. You see low, high, depending on what the sales value is. That's how you get your calculated. Also, you'll see it says equal to ABC, which means this is a text calculated. The data here is text. Okay, this is how you create a bin for sales in a calculated field. Any doubts here? Because now this is going to get interesting after this. If you have any doubts, please ask right now on calculated field. Would you like to share your screen? Hello. Hello. If it's okay, otherwise I can repeat it. Whichever is okay. Whichever is convenient. Rest of you, please keep on doing on your Tableau public. I hope you have imported first store data and then create your calculated field. Gautam, don't worry. I'll repeat it. I think it might take some time at your end. Otherwise, just have a look at my screen. Repeating it. Don't worry. I'll show it to you. If still you're not able to, if it's not working, then you can share your screen. So what I did was, I'm again getting rid of this field. Delete it. Was my calculated field. So what I do is first I use this field, this arrow rather, and create calculated. I hope everybody knows here, right? How to add a calculated field. Now this pop-up, which is for calculated field, over here I'll type the name of my field, which is sales underscore bin. If you are doing it again, you can call it sales underscore bin 2, so that the other field is also there. So sales underscore bin, and then you have to write if condition. Tableau, if condition is more or less like in Excel. So like you say if condition, if, then you put your condition here. After that you say then, and then you say so if, and you will over here you will write the condition. Then you will write if condition. So over here you will write if the condition is not true, and then you'll say end. This is the structure. Now how do you write it in syntax wise? So you will say if, right? So generally what you should do is when you type if like this, it will prompt here. You click this one, right? Of the prompt that Tableau gives, so that you are perfectly correct in writing it. There is no typo in there. I'm saying if my sales column, the moment I type sales come in here, right, with the hash symbol, which means this is the column. Click here, and the moment you click it, it is closed within square bracket here, the sales, which means I have picked the sales column, which is fine. I want to see if the sales column is less than 350. If it is less than 350, which is the average sales value, I want to call it as a if this is true, then if this is true, then what do you do? Say then low, else say it is high, and then you have to statutorily put an end keyword at the end of it. And then once you say, and once you've written the calculation is valid, this should be visible here. If this is not visible, then like if something like this is visible, means there's an error. You have to correct it and then fix it till you get this calculation is valid. So first, if you write this formula, is your calculation is valid message coming up. Gautamji, can you confirm please?
Sir, I'm trying to understand. I've got that now.
Okay, okay. Now you say apply and then okay. But I request everyone to do it right now, because this will build up few things today's exercise. If not doing it, then you will not follow rest of the things. So I have a new field, sales bin. Now see the magic. Okay, I have, let's say I'm creating the same old state versus sales data in a bar chart. Okay, and I get multiple bar charts here. I then sort the bar charts like this. I know my maximum sales are coming from California. Okay, that's fine. Now I know each of my sales row, because if I see this one, and if you see the calculated field, this is interesting actually. In so this low over here, this low is about what? What is this low pointing to? To the city, to the state, to a region? What is it pointing to? Any guesses, or to an order of what?
Low or high?
Every row in here is being tested, and for the sales value. So it will Tableau will check this sales value 23196. Since it is less than 350, it will say it is low. Next row 731, it is above 350, so it will say it is high. Every row will be checked, which means at the lowest level of granularity it will check. That's how calculated fields work. Calculations are done at row level. Okay, if you want to do it in some other way, maybe you want to just do it at city level or region level, then that comes under another concept which is known as level of detail. I'm not doing it right now, but as of now, any other calculation is done mostly at row level, 99%. Okay, now each row here, what is the granularity? Is it, each row is what? Is it a city? Is it a region? Is it an order? We'll realize that each row is actually an order, right? Because I think each order over here is what each row is reflecting. But then you will see that this order is repeated here also. because in same order one can order multiple things. For example, in this case, for the same order numbers, but product is different. Two different products under same order. For example, if you go to Myntra or Amazon and you order two different things, want to order something to eat, the chips, then you also order, let's say, a laptop, two things, right? Or you order a laptop or a keyboard and a mouse. All these things are bundled in a single order. So multiple products under same order. So now what is the granularity here? So granularity, how do I get a hang of it? I'll have to see at each row, see which one defines the uniqueness. So I see that order number is defining the uniqueness, but still there are repetition of orders here, right? You see these two orders are also repeated. How do I go about it? Let's, for the time being, let's say that order number, I think product name, these two can club together to get me a unique identification number. But nevertheless, let's say so that means I can order number. And let's put a filter on state. I'm just trying to add some flavor to it. So filter. Let me just pick any single state. Let's say Alabama. These are the orders over here, right? So essentially what I've done is I have put order IDs here so that there is some granularity in data, because each row, I want to go at each row level. Now these orders are actually at times they're repeated also, but for this representation, this will work fine. I have order ID here, I have sales here, and I have sorted it, sorry, I have filtered it across state, just so that I have some data that I can actually limit my view upon. Otherwise, there were so many orders over here. Now let's see what happens if I bring my sales bin to color. Okay. Now, what you see here is some things are in orange, some things are in blue. Why? Because blue is high, orange is low over here. You can change the color, that is fine. But since I had created the bin, right? Since I had created the bin, now I know this order is of low value and this order is of high value. So this way I can pinpoint which are my low value orders and which are my high value orders. Now, mathematically, there might be some issues here because some orders are duplicates, but concept wise, I just wanted to show you that if you create bins like this, and then if you try to split your data on bins, like I put it on across my, what do you say, I put my sales bin on color, so I can color it based on high and low values. That is one approach, and I can do it for different states. Right now, I'm getting here a two splits over here for this bar, because this order might be having multiple products. So for each row, it is going like this. So this is to do with the granularity of data. So these might be unique orders. So that's why I just get complete orange. This might be having two different products in. Yeah, yeah. So if you remember, I showed like I showed you here, there were some orders which were repetitions, right? So like for example, this order and this order, these two orders, 152, 156. Let's see where it is. It's at in the. Let me pick this example precisely so that it is Henderson. Let me see the state. It is Kentucky. Yeah. If I go to the state of Kentucky, and in the state of Kentucky, if you see same order 152, 156, you see this one. There are two in this order. There are two different products. Let's go there in the data. in this 152156, 152156, CA2019, same order, right? You see this is the same order, same order ID, same order ID, but there are two different products. In this order, there is one product is this, one product is this. Okay, and you go here to the right, you see sales value is 261.96 and 731.94. The first one is a low, second one is a high. In this order, this specific order, this one specific order, there is one product which has low sale value and there's another product which has high sale value. So this is how you can infer it. I hope that makes things clear. Now, again, it will depend on how your data is structured. So you could have done multiple things. Another way you can look at it is, for example, I want to create a chart, sorry, a table like this, wherein I want to say which is high and low sales under these orders. Okay, and then for I want to put a color, all this I can put into this way also. I can say that, so this order is high, is low, high, this is low, and this has both high and low because there are two orders which high, one is, again, depending on how you want to show it. So might also want to create, let's say, instead of order ID and add a product ID here. Now it becomes really clear because in this order I have two products, and these two products have low value. In this order also I have two products, two low value products. So again, I mean, this is a typical way in which ordering is done, right? If you order something on Zomato also, so you will, let's say you're ordering one dish, another is like some breads, some cold drink. So there are multiple things being ordered, multiple products under same order. So that's the idea. And then how you highlight it based on the value, low or high. So this was one example, a binning problem in Tableau, and I used a calculated field to get a bin. So now let's do a quick exercise along with you. So let's create a calculated field, right? And that calculated field is equal to just simply, it's a new column which is equal to just exactly the same value as the sales column. Basically what you will do is you'll add another column here which has same values, the duplicate of this column, exactly the same value. How will you do that? Can you do that? Just try to. So what I'm trying to do here is, what I'm asking you guys to do is create a calculated field which creates a duplicate sales column. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, I guess. What you do is you go here, create calculated field, and let's say I'm calling it sales duplicate. So I'm calling it sale dupe for duplicate, and it's very simple. I just write here sales and apply. So what happens is the sales dupe is nothing but an exact copy of sales, because the formula here is, if I go here and I say edit, is equal to sales. So that's how we do it. Okay. So this is my duplicate sales column. If you want to see it, just, I mean, you can see it in the data also, or you can see it here, right? So it's 742 the sum, and then if you split it across different cities or whatever, you'll get the same values, exactly the same. Means both are same. Or you can alternately just go here in the calculate the data field, sorry, and just see the two columns, manually inspect them. You'll see that both are identical. See, sales due, both same, exactly same, obviously. So that's how you create a calculated field uh, for duplicating the values. Now what if I want to create a column? Now what I'm giving you multiple examples here, multiple variations. All these are useful somewhere or the other, right? Another way is to create a column which has constant field. For example, I want to create a column which has just ones, 111 written. So what I can do is, okay, okay. So just to avoid any unwanted confusion, your original Excel sheet, which in my case is here, which you might be seeing like slightly else, property. Just bear with me. Now it is okay. So this is my original data, right? This data has been imported in Tableau over in the data source. That's why I'm getting this data. Now your original Excel data is totally different than what's happening here. In the sense, if I'm adding a new column here, this source data is not getting impacted with that. This is the data that goes inside the Tableau, and the moment it goes inside, Tableau just takes a copy of this data. The original data, which is an Excel sheet, remains untouched. I hope that point is clear. I hope everybody knows that. Now, once you create a calculated field, then it is inside this Tableau ecosystem and as attached to this Tableau file. And if you want to check this data, either you can go to the data source here and it will ask you to connect with the data. So I'm not going there. You can go otherwise to data source if you're using a Tableau desktop version, because I'm using public, so there are multiple things involved. Otherwise, another quick way is you go here, over here there is view data option, this one, click here, and then once you click it, maximize it, and then you have all the data visible to you. Over here, if I just manually inspect it, I will see this one of the calculated field, this is another calculated, and it was a bin, sales bin. This way you can. So I was saying that what if I want to create a column which has constant values, like all values are one. What I'm trying to say essentially is, if I have a constant column, is all ones, which means everything is one here. Or it could be all A, B, C, some text like this. How do you do that? Do is create a calculated field. I call it constant column. Okay, constant column, and I just type the variable, sorry, the constant. So let's say I want to make it all the values as 1. Say apply. See, this is calculation is valid. Then I click on apply and then OK. I get this constant column. See, there's an equal to hash. Now if I check my data here, it would be a constant column. Will have all the values as 1. You see, constant column, all the values 1. Now if I bring constant columns to details, right, and automatically sums it up. So if I show it in text, I see 2121, right? What is 2121? Any guesses? What do you think would be this number? Perfect. Yes, perfect. All the rows. So yeah, so this is not a. I mean, why I asked this question was you should train your mind how Tableau is working. So there's a tabular structure, and whatever calculations you're doing, they are being done at column levels. Okay, so each column as a chunk is being processed. So and whatever I told you about this constant fields, constant calculated fields, or binning and all, these have varied applications in Tableau, and wonderful thing. All these um, applications. Okay, so let's see what all we can do. So binning, I've already told you. Let's see another example. Let's say I just want to create a map of USA. If I put my sales state data here in here, right? I obviously get a map of USA, and I can change it to a field map from here, and I'll get a map of USA, which is this plus part of northeastern side. So there are no values here. This one is missing here because there might be no sales data for this region. Now let me show you something else. If I create calculated field and I name it as country, okay, first check some that because I'm very sure what country column is. So let me just check. So country region is United States over here, right? Is fine. So if I create a calculated field, is just country name, and if I write here United States, so what will happen is obviously create a constant column which will have United States written uh, each row. So let me go to country column. This one has same thing as this one. Let's ignore this one for the time being. Country name is a column I've created. Now if I drag this field into sales and try, it will give me this value because country name is equal to ABC here, not a geographical role. So I need to assign a geographical role to it. So what I do is I use this drop down menu and I go to geographical role, and this is what a country. Mind you, this is county and this is country and region. So I click on country and region, and it becomes equal to and a globe sign, which means it's a calculated geographical role. Now again, if I drag this field here, country name to details, this time it will create a field map of the United States of America. And obviously US is this also. Right now the data is for this region only, but we also have USA over here. This is the actually the perfect heat map of USA with some islands here and this region and this west of Canada, right? Alaska region. Now, yeah, so this is a calculated field which creates a country. Now, let's see the application of this. So we had, again, I'm saying I'm ignoring this country region because at times in a real world scenario, you will have data for different geographical region of a country or a geographical boundary. And then you might need a complete holistic boundary. For example, in this case, we are doing it with states. I'm getting all the states here, but still my map is not complete because the region is missing over there. So let's say I put sales on color. This is my sales, darker regions, higher sales, lighter region, lower sales. But I still don't have a complete map of what do you say, USA. Right now, if I use this map and this map together, then I can have the complete map of USA. How we do it, I'll explain it to you in another class. But you can see that calculated field gives me the complete map of the USA, whereas my state, if I use state in the field, only gives me a map of the USA where for which I have fields in the data. Most likely data for these fields were missing, this area was missing, hence I did not get this area in the map. You can even use, so the essence was you can use calculated field to create a geographical map also, or a geographical role also. Very, very powerful stuff. Um, this so we need to tweak it a bit. Basically, we need to use dual access here, which I'll explain later. Anyways, just let's ignore it for the time being. So again, calculated field for job. Similarly, if I for some reason, let's say I don't want United States, though the data is for United States, but I want to create a map of India for some reason. Let's say, okay, I don't know what the reason could be, but let's say I want to get a map of India. Just type India, you get a map of India. So you see, a calculated field can be really interesting if you, okay, let's take another one. Talk about good country. Let's say Bangladesh. Yeah. So that's more or less about the geography. So you can create calculated field and then get or Tableau maps going, right, binning and all stuff. So it was about the calculated field. Any doubts here?
Sir, Gautam Bal here.
Yeah, Gautam ji, बताइए.
Not where the data from
Yes. So again, most likely in real world you need the data from a data source in the calculated field, most likely. Like for example, you might want to create some calculations from these numbers, you might need to do that. But at times you also can create calculated field which takes information not within, which is not within your data source. So yeah, and yes.
does not the price.
Okay.
Now suppose want to be what the
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that is how we come to know. Price is not great. Okay.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes.
And we can the total
Yes, 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 you can do that. Definitely. So, for example, I have to look in the data. So, for example, if the sales is it a turn, I mean, is it a per unit value or is it a total sales turnover for that specific row? This is that you can either multiply some price with quantity to get at the sales, or price into quantity minus uh, something to get maybe discount to get the actual realization of money. So all those things can be done pretty straightforward. Yeah.
I will just have the products we have the reverse come to the
Definitely, definitely, that can be done. Yes. A series of number. So see, all I know what is going in your head right now. So the same irritating feeling that you get once you work with these. These are known as vectorized calculations, and like work with some programming language like Python and all. You'll again get to know more about it. But anyways, let me just quickly tell you something. Okay, so let's see this data. Okay, this data one. Yeah. Now in this data, if you say I want to add a series like serial number, like 1, 2, like you want something like this, right? Are you looking for something like now? See, what happens is once I create a calculated field which is serial number, this one, I can assign some number there, right? I cannot assign a list like this. I can do that. I can assign a column like this, but this is a collection of multiple values, right? Right now, what I'm doing here is see this for everybody's understanding also. I had this constant field wherein I was passing just single string, or there could be another constant. This one over here, I am just passing a single number. Now I cannot do it like this. Sorry, cannot pass numbers like this, because if I have to pass a collection of numbers, then there is a different way to do it. Okay, so if you want something like that, then what you will do is you will pass one number and then you will say next is sum of this plus 1, increment by 1. So over there you bring in the concept of table calculation. So what this means is when you say serial number, so the next number is incremental, right? So about 1 plus 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So value is dependent on the previous value. Each value is dependent on the previous value, and this calculation goes all the way to the last row. So what all information I need here? I need what is the starting value, what is the last row, and then what is the incremental value. So I need 3 inputs here to arrive at this column. If I have these 3 inputs, then I can use a table calculation to create a serial number column, which sounds little tricky, which it is actually, because table calculations are tricky. You might be thinking, to do such a small thing, I need to do so much things, but that's how it is. That's how it works. So right now, I'm not going there because you will need to do table calculations to get that serial number column. There are some shortcuts also to do some small stuff. Maybe this also is part of that shortcuts. But right now, for your understanding, everything will be available under the sorry. I have numbers. This there is this table calculation. You see this table calculation. This is what will get me like running total and all these things. So I'll come to table calculation. It's a separate class for that. It's a slightly advanced topic. But from there you can easily get all these things in a single click of button. But what I want you to realize is it's a very genuine and a good question, that you have to understand that these calculations are happening at row level. Each row is behaving as a data collection, each row like this. When I say that create a new country region field with United States written to it, it creates the entire column, whereas you have just written it once. You don't repeat it like this, right? You don't type it multiple times. So these are vectorized calculations, I'm repeating, and they work in a tabular data format. So for the time being, just forget that. I know I'm not giving you an answer, but that's how it is. Okay. Now, so we did this calculated field, and we also talked about different constant calculated fields, creating data bins and stuff. Now, before we proceed further, you can also see that for each field, be it calculated or be it field coming from the data, there are multiple options available here. For example, filter is like, it does the same thing, like filter up. duplicate. So the way I created a duplicate, you can also duplicate it from here. Product ID, a duplicate creates a copy. Why you need to do it? Actually, you might need to do it many times depending on your requirements. Maybe you want to create a duplicate and then create some calculation based on that. Uh, then you can rename a field, so you can just rename it, hide it, aliases, which means aliases means like the pseudonym, so you want to call it as PID maybe for product ID. Then I'll come to create, just transform, then all rest convert to measure, which means uh, move it from here to here, from dimension to measure, vice versa. Change data type, geographical role, default properties, group by. So create. Now we discussed calculated field, but what about if I go to this field, let's say profit, and if I use this like this, go to uh, create and calculated field. What it does is, if you already know that this field profit will be used in my calculation, so that you don't have to type profit here. Otherwise, you can also use calculated field from here and then type profit here like this, and then, but to avoid this, and what you can do is you just click on the field which you want to include calculation, then create calculated field, and then you can do whatever you want, maybe multiply it with 100 and then say apply. So this is one way to create calculation. Otherwise, you can also do it the way I've just told you. Another thing is you can create group. So you can create a group like this. For the time being, you can ignore it, but just see that group is created here, and what it does is, maybe I'll cover it later, time permits. But the most important thing is bins. Now, the way I created bin, I just showed you, right? Less than 350 is low, greater than 350 is high. Same binning can be done automatically, and is pretty much useful when there are multiple bins. Right now, I had just low and high. What if I have low, very low, low, average, moderately high, very high? Then you will have to write so many things. So to avoid that, you can create bins from here, and there are some limitations to this, but still. So let's say I want to split each data into bins of 328, right? And this is how it automatically creates the bin, Tableau, right? Now you can just this is the bin size that Tableau has suggested. And if you want your own bin size, let's say I want to create bins of 500, right? And then this is the minimum, this is the maximum. Let's say if I say okay, so it creates profit bins. Okay, what are these? So you see, these are different bins that have been created, and I can see that which let's say order ID, I've taken order data, order ID, and it. Yeah. So let's say, because I have created bins of 500, so it there are negative profit here also because there are some losses. What it's doing is it's creating bins like this, right? With the given data set, and I'm splitting the entire profit across with the bin size of 500. Now these bins are like, just to give more perspective to it, what's happening is, if I have some value like these values, sales value, okay, it will take these values here. Oh, let me just sort it. from smallest to largest, and these are my values. Okay, and let me just so that you can understand it, I'm just getting rid of the decimals. These are my numbers. So now this is minimum and this is maximum. So if I have to split these values uh, in, let's say, bin of total values are 22, I want to create bin of total 5 bins. First bin is from 0 to 10, second is from 10 to 20, and 20 to 30. I hope you remember this, right? This one is, it is automatically converting it to 8, so I come in the beginning. This one is 20 to 30. This is, right, 30 to 40, so on and so forth, right? Maybe last one is 40 and above, just to simple 40 and above. Now if I say how many are between 0 and 10, so between 0 and 10, 3 values. So the values between 10 to 20, these many, right? So 4 values, so which is like your distribution problem, right? So you create ranges and you see how many are between. So with a statistical problem, so you can do similar line of things using this. So let's see if I again can redo it. Profit bins, okay, and then let's say how many order IDs fall under each. Okay, all, and let's I convert it to count. Now it makes sense because I've created a distribution, right? So which means uh, my my orders which lie in this bin 0 to 500 are this. In this bin, which is 0 to 500 are this. 500 to 1000 is this. 1000 to 1500 is this. So now the labeling is obviously a little tricky because it should mention 0 to 500, but how it is, it will take the lower bound as the value. So I have my total rows split across these bins. So this is another of the bins, right? So sorry. Yes. The intervals, the class intervals that we generally have. So it's a typical class interval problem. Now this is bins over here might be fine or might be useful in some times, but actually Tableau has so many things. For example, let me do the same problem with another approach. And again, each problem can be approached in multiple ways in Tableau. So which one you want to use is up to you. So these are all the orders. And if I say count of orders, let me just go to measure and say count. These are the count of orders. If I put them to text, I can see the number also. 9994. These are all the rows, I think, the data. Let's see how many rows we have here. So yes, 9994. If you see this one, 9994. These are all the rows. This is the count of order, which is perfectly fine. Now, if you see by default, it has just shown this chart over here, which is a horizontal bar chart, and there is another chart here which says histogram. Now, if I add this, convert it to one second, let me see what it needs. Histogram needs a measure, right? So I need to convert it to a measure. So from dimension, I need to convert it to a measure. So let's rather take some measure directly so that we don't. Let me take profit from here. Okay, profit, and one measure. Yeah. Now you see my histogram is visible here, right? And this histogram is nothing but again a binning problem. Let me give me a second again. Let me see if it works this way. Here, anyways, How it's programmed. So let me just take profit again, same thing, and create a histogram. This one. Now you see, uh, histogram actually is nothing but a distribution. So whatever profits you have here, more tune with your Excel than anything else. So if I go here, I see sales figure here, this sales column, right? This sales column. What is the distribution of this sales? So that is what histogram gives. If I split this in different bins, let's say 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, so on and so forth, and see what all values, the frequency distribution as we call it, right? That's a histogram here. So a normal distribution will tend towards a bell distribution curve and all those things. So this is my binning from my histogram. Now I can change the bins here. So I can right click here, edit axis, profit bins. Let me see where the profit bins are. So okay, let me convey to you again. Let me clarify this again. So the first bin that we created, right? Bin that we created in the beginning, sales bin, which was, I was saying, if sales is less than 350, it's low, else it's high. This was through calculated field. What I'm discussing right now is creating bins using either the create, and then there is a bin option here. If your field is this one, if it's a continuous field, so it will, you can create a bin here using this, or you can create bins using this histogram, this one. So how this becomes available to you? This becomes available to you once you drag a measure here, right? And then this visualization becomes highlighted, which means you can use this one, or the rest are grayed out. You click this one, you get a histogram, which is nothing but a frequency distribution. Histogram is a frequency distribution, which means under this class interval 0 to, let's say, 500, these are these many fields. From 500 to 1000, these many fields. Now what if I want to change this bin size? So you can change this profit bin. The moment you create this histogram, there would be a bin automatically created. Is this profit bin, and you can see this histogram symbol in front of it, which means this field calculated automatically when this graph was created. And I can edit this field, and you see over here again the same thing, the same bin actually that we created before, and this time I can say I want bins of size 50 now. Okay, now you see my bins are of 50 each, right? I see most of my data is between this and this, which is very well covered between my minus 1k to plus 1k, or minus 1000 to plus 1000. What I can do is I can edit the axis, and I can say fixed start minus 1000 and fixed end plus 1000, and here we go. Now we have, great. So again, I've been done a binning of the problem, and I can see how many values are lying between each range, and I can also see, I can count, put the count in the label actually, see what are the numbers here, so I can see this number. So these are so many, these many orders, or the unique rows coming in this distribution, these many in this, so on and so forth. So pretty interesting stuff as far as binning is concerned, and also gives a lot of insights into how distributions happen in the real world. If there are any doubts in here, I can repeat it. I know some people might find it not that easy to grasp, but if you want, I can repeat everything that we've done today in a quick summary of today's session, or otherwise I'll take. No, for 10 minutes I will need, I can kind of recap of only few things. But if you want something specific to be, want me to explain something, just let me know right now. Otherwise, I'll assume that you have understood everything. Okay, good. Good that you asked it. So see, by default, if you put anything in your x's, so I'll take a bit more advanced example so that all your queries are covered there. Okay. I'm taking profit on one axis and sales on another axis, and I'm putting my city on details so that it splits across all the cities. I'm making it entire view. So now I have sales, I have profit, and these dots represent each city data. So because this is the profit and the sales for this specific point, which is a city. So this city of Detroit has profit 13182 and sales of 42447. That's why this point is here. 44 something K, 44K, and one more than approximate 13K here. Okay. So now we're talking about axis. So this axis is made based on the data you have here. So like I have sales and I have profit. Whatever data I have here, the minimum, maximum, similarly here, the minimum and maximum, based on that, these axes are automatically created by Tableau. If I right click it and I edit axis, I'm clicking on X axis. Over here, it says automatic. It automatically creates the axis based on the data, minimum and maximum. Hence, but what if I want to create a fixed axis which starts from, because this value is starting somewhere here, which is some negative value. So it will, if you click on from automatic, if you click on fixed for the first time, you will see the fixed start would be a number which is minus something 13868, which is the most leftmost number here, right? Or the minimum value. The fixed end is the maximum value. But for some reason, let's say you want it up all the way up till uh, this is 270237, but let's say I want it up till, so this is approximately 2,70,237. I want to make it up till 3 lakhs. So 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Now my axis has gone all the way up till 3 lakhs. Right? Similarly, over here, I see that this value, because this is going up till 60K, because this value is, this is the only outlier kind of profit. So maybe I want to make it all the way up to maybe 80K. So I can go to edit axis, fixed, start I want to keep same, but maximum I want to go up till 80K. Now my graph is, there's some buffer on the top, is going all the way up till 80K. And the same example, the thing we did just now, here, this one over here, the last example, you right click on the axis, edit axis, and then it was by default automatic. You go to fixed, and then you manually inspect that this is between minus 1K and plus 1K. So I can assume that if I write between minus 1000 and up till fixed and plus 1000, I will cover the entire range of data. So I have do it like this. But still, if I want to further refine it, I can actually go up till 500 and minus 500. So right click it, and I can further make it minus 500, or you can take different starting value. Maybe you can take minus 500 and plus 400, whatever you want. But it should cover all the data range. Now if I do it like this, then I have more, spread it out it more evenly. I've given it more space. I got thicker blocks here. How you? I hope that just a statistical tip here. If your bins here, there two, if you decrease the size, let's say I have the bin size here of 500. Sorry, the bin here, not the bin size. Bin size is here. If I go here and edit, and if I further decrease the bin size, let's say to 5, you see now I have decreased the bin size. If I further decrease it to, let's say, 2, if I further decrease it, and Don't think that I'm acting strange. Just hear me out, and very interesting statistical concept that you will come up with. So, can anybody tell me what's happening? First of all, high low. I'm repeating. High low is a different things. That was a sales bin. High low ho gaya. That was the first example I gave. Right now, I'm talking about profit bins. We have okay, let me just further kind of clarify this. I think there is some doubt, so first I want need to clear that. So in the beginning, I broke sales into low and high bins. Okay, so if I see this, I have sales which is high because these are all above 350 values, and then there is sales which is low, which is all below 350. The two bins of sales. This was the first example. The second example I'm talking about is my profit bins. I've taken this profit, but the binning is being done by the histogram. And by this histogram creates this profit bin calculated field, or you can actually also create this bin by clicking here and then saying create and create bins. Both ways are fine. So since I already have the bins calculated here, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to edit and I'm decreasing the bin sizes, right? That's what I was doing. So let's say again, if the bin size is 1000, I get something like this, right? Which is big blocks, right? But if I gradually keep on decreasing this bin size and gradually go all the way up till 1, maybe reduce it further, maybe go to 0.5, right? So last we did was 1. Let me do it to 0.5 also. So you get something like this, right? And if I show you this, I edit this axis. That's the beauty of visualization, and you will realize it soon. I get something like this. This is going all the way up because now I have 0.5 is the bin size. So at the increment of 0.5, I'm creating buckets 0 to 10, 10 to 20. So I'm actually getting 0 to 0.5, 0.5 to 1, 1 to 1.5, something like that. And so hence the number of orders in that range would be very less. Let me just one last thing, then it will become really interesting. Now you see this graph, when I decrease the size of the bin, it is further like becoming a continuous thing like this. Actually, what's happening is if you decrease the bin size infinitely and increase the observation also, your graph histogram will converge into a normal distribution curve, what we also call a bell curve, or it will tend towards a bell curve provided the data is normally distributed. Get that? So if you reduce the bin size, keep on reducing it, it will tend from a histogram to a normal distribution. So this was a practical example of showing this. Otherwise, there are some ways you can take it in Excel and others. Understood, guys? So maybe this is not part of Tableau exercise. Somebody can ask you, what happens if in a histogram you reduce the bin size infinitely? The moment you keep on going reducing the bin size, it will tend towards a uh, normal distribution curve, and then it follows the principle, the fundamentals of NDC or normal distribution. So that was a small statistical tip. I hope you might find it useful in some walk of your professional life. Okay, so this was a binning problem. We did calculate it, and then we now one last thing I'll do here. Again, as far as calculated field is concerned, there are so many calculations that can be done. I just showed you a few things, one or two examples for today's. One another thing, if I can quickly show you, back to the Now, nothing to do with this graph, but so if I create a calculated field, right? I'm creating a calculated field, calculated column, let's say, and then I can do multiple things here, as I've already told you. Now, we discussed geographical field, we discussed numerical field. One example, let's talk about string fields. So, what if I want to create a column like this? So, if I have this data and I have my city names here like this. So, maybe I want to create a column, that it here itself, which is nothing but first leftmost character like this. Maybe I want to create some kind of a directory with the leading character of the city name, right? So for all the A's come together and all the B's come together. How do I do that? Same feature as in Excel. There is a len function in Tableau also. So if I type len, sorry, left, see there is a function left. There is a len function also. So let's talk about left. So if I say left of, then it says which string. So string, which means the which column. So city column. Out of city column, I want to take first character, and it says the calculation is valid. I say apply, and then I say okay. I go to a fresh chart, and I have calculated column. Let me rename it. Actually, I go to edit, and let me call it city alphabet, city alpha, so that I know this is a city alphabet. Now if I bring city alphabet here, and if I bring same city alphabet here, and I just say count of it, measure and count of it, so and bring this count to text. So I have 388 cities starting with A, 259 with B, so on and so forth. I can even convert it into a bar chart, sorry, like this. So tells me most of the city names are starting with S. Interesting feature, right? Because see my Excel, and if I check starting with S, so all the cities are starting with S. So one, I mean, you can take away from today's session. US has lot many cities have starting with S, right? It's followed with L, then N. So my city alpha is a calculated field, which is a string calculation, right? So on the similar lines, let's do one more thing because this is handy for you guys. Let me create another calculated field. This time I am saying length of city name, which means if I say len, I type city, and that's all it needs. So it will tell me len city names, and let me take so it will give me the length of city name, but if I see it is saying 11895 in length city name. You see this in the tooltip, 11895. Why is it so? Can anybody tell me? Because if I take the city name as New York City, so that has NEW 3 characters, YORK 4, CITY 4, 448 and 311, and the two spaces 12 and 13, but it is showing 11895. Anybody? Why is it coming like that? Well, let's take this one, Dallas, 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 total 1 2 3 4 5 6 characters, but it is showing 942. Why is it so? Anybody? Exactly. Perfect. I wanted you to answer this one because this tells that you are grasping the overall construct of Tableau. So if I go to Dallas here, ALLAS, So this is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 character long. But if I add all these, so it will be 157 multiplied by 7. That is what it is giving here. Something else. I mean, it's coming from sum of that. Okay, so it's adding all this together. So if I, instead of sum, if I say, then sorry, sum is fine, but over here I need to put count this. But the idea is, so anyways, this is summing the length of the names, right? So which is not correct. So I need unique city names actually, and then the corresponding length. So then I have to figure out a way to bring unique city names, which is coming here, but not to bring the sum, but the unique lengths over here against each city, right? So one way I think would, yeah, minimum will do, because so see, again, these are some what do you say, hacks, or as we say, jugaad. So instead of sum, if I take minimum, what is happening is uh, these are 157, like in the case of Dallas, 157, and each Dallas has 6. So that's why it's getting 942. That was initially the answer, right? That we were getting was 942, because 7 for one Dallas, and there was total 157 Dallas, 157 rows for Dallas. So that's why 157 multiplied by 6. That was 942. That was what I was getting here. Now, if I, instead of sum, I take minimum. Now what happens is, because what will happen here is, it will be understood if I insert a column here. If I say this is length of city name, right? Length of city. And if I say is equal to length of city, these are all the city lengths, right? Now let's redo this example. Yeah. So now if you see, if I again go back to Dallas, 6 so many times, if I add them, it becomes 942, right? Which is perfect. Now if I say minimum of this, what would be the minimum value out of this? All these values. What is the minimum value of this? Anybody? Obviously, if all the values are same, minimum value is 6. So what it will do is, it will take the minimum value, which is any one, the beginning value. So when it sees all the values are same, it will take the first value, and hence the first value in each case, be it Dallas, be it some other some other city like Alexandria, it will take the first value, and hence I'll get all the first values the chart. So if I change it to from sum, I change the measure to count, right? So what happens is, sorry, minimum. What happens is, I'm just sorting it. So for yourself, what happens now is, each what do you say, city will have its minimum length city name value over here. So the length that we have put there, the minimum value from there is coming here. Trying to locate Dallas here, I can. Anyways, so that's the idea. I hope you understand that what I mean by minimum. So at times you can use minimum to get rid of other repetitions if you want. So I've used it many times in practical examples, in practical problems. So when you have such scenario and you want to find one value out of it, just use minimum, because once you use sum, it will sum them together. It will give you some unwanted results. So this is one good example. Any doubts? Okay. So let me also, we did the string calculations, string calculated, and finally another calculated column, 2 I'm saying. And so once you get a hang of a calculated field, you will realize that there are so many uh, formulas that are available, right? So if you type any, you have all these absolute, uh, average. I mean, some even I don't know, right? These are all the values. When I say all the functions in A, if I say B, this is so many case function, all these things are there, right? Date time. I'm just randomly showing you. I mean, it's a huge list, not possible to convert, talk about in a single day or in a single module actually. So you have to explore it for yourself. And these formulas, these inbuilt functions, you will learn as and when you explore more about Tableau and if you work on different cases and different kind of problem statements. So, so that's about calculated fee. Okay. Now, the remaining part of the session, 10-15 minutes, I want to devote on your Tableau project work, so that start now, at least at the end of the day, you can come. I know some of you have not even started the Excel work, is a good sign. If you were planning to have a good uh, learning through this module, so if you have not worked on it, it's good. Okay, but nevertheless, first let me just tell you about the Excel dashboard, because tomorrow also I'll be covering that. But since you guys have today's session, just see that in Excel, actually Sita gave me this dashboard, and I randomly picked her dashboard. Actually, I plans to dashboard. So this is what she had made, and she did a pretty decent job, given that learning Excel for the first time. I guess some of. So she created this dashboard, and she uh, kind of has used some very interesting concepts here. The idea is, for a dashboard, your data should be in a tabular form, right? So in the entire data that you have, you first need to convert into a table. So how you convert a data into a table is, you select this data, then here insert, you need to insert a table. So for example, if I go to Superstore like this one, and if I select this data and I go to insert, then I say table. You remember in Excel class we did tables. This is now a table. So the idea of getting a table is, now it behaves like a database. You can query it, and it can create internal connections and links. This is very interesting and very robust feature, and also very handy in creating a dashboard. From this main data source, you create multiple pivot tables which serve as data source for each of the chart in your dashboard. So for example, each of the chart here is being fed from one pivot table, which is coming from this main data source. So to give you some context, let's say if I say insert pivot table here, and in this business type, let's say I'm saying business type, right? I'm just taking it only this one, and I say business type and the count of it. I get a pivot table which is telling me how many business types are there in this data. Next I can do is I can insert another pivot table, and I say this time let's say construction type. So then again construction and the count of construction type. Now I get this. Now I can right click and sorry click on this and say pivot table analysis and pivot chart, and I get a chart here. So one chart comes from here. Again click here, pivot table chart, another chart comes from. I get two charts from here. Now I can modify these charts and put them in dashboard. And the benefit of this is, since both the charts are coming from these two pivot tables which are coming from this table, so if I do something to this table, it will reflect here. How? If I click here, and let's say these are my two charts, I'm just putting them above the pivot table, and if I say insert a slicer for this table, insert slicer, and over here if I take a slicer on, let's say, location, the location here is urban and rural. Okay. So if I take a slicer from here, see, her file was little we had data going all the way to the last row. It was very heavy. Clean it, and that's why it's not running properly. Time. What will happen is, in case this file hangs, tell you, now I will add, this will add a slicer for location which is urban and rural. If I click on or select rural or urban from the slicer, because slices the data, it will be applicable to both these charts. Otherwise, I mean, it's not possible to link slicer to multiple like this one. See, if I click on rural, so see what's happening here is, over here the data is not clean actually. So the raw data that she did work on, go here. No, that is fine. That is fine. That you can do. But what I was trying to tell you was, when I selected urban, this urban got filtered in the table, and this reflects here. If I select rural, rural will be getting filtered here, and it will show here. So my working is fine. But thing is, why it was not working? It is not working smoothly. The reason is, see how she has done it. She has used this column which goes all the way here to 10 lakh rows, and this is making the file really heavy. So that's why it was taking so long. Otherwise this slicer works fine. So the idea is, take one table, create multiple pivots from there for as many charts you want, create charts from those pivot tables, and then you can use slicers to link them, multi-link them. So this is what I have done from her chart. I cleaned it up, and I try to use my what I thought could be one possible improvements to it, and though these are not the perfect ones, there could be multiple further improvements to it. And if you see this one, sorry, I've explained this in the video also. If you see the video that I have just shared also, and about it in the beginning also, so I have told you about formatting the slicer also. You can format the slicer based on the color that you want. So this dashboard is having a theme color of green. I saw that she has used green. I used multiple shades of green, with just one exception of this orange here for rural area, which you can also change. And then I also transformed a slicer using some formatting tips, which I've also given in the video. Now it works for multiple selections over here. So if I, right now my system is overwhelmed with data. See, it's taking some time to sort. So you can select and make reacting to it. Central. It will be very, right now it's not very responsive because running slow on my laptop's memory. Many things are open, but this is how this is the feature you can attain, and you can further kind of get rid of this labels or change these labels. You can just drag them one by one like this, right? And drag them, you'll get a different look and feel. So all these things can be done, and you can create a dashboard like this. It's a very basic thing that I've done. I've added some numbers. These are numbers also change as we select or change. Undo.
Can you guide how to link other things?
So yeah. So why I showed you this is I just wanted to tell you that there is a video that I have already uploaded.
So already seen.
So everything is there. Whatever you need is there, and can use that video kind of enhance your dashboard. And since you have asked it, I'll just tell you once again, but I have already told you in this in the class also. So you need to add a text box, and then in the text box you need to link it. Like first click on the text box, insert it, click on the text box, don't go inside it like this, click it where like this outside, and then in the function box, while this text box is clicked, which means you're typing this formula inside it, type equal to, and then link it to some cell, let's say this one, and press enter. So that value is taken here. Now you can format this text box, centrally align it, increase the font size, right? And just further format it like say no shape fill like this, and get rid of the border and stuff. Border is like in the shape format, you get rid of the shape outline, and then what I've done is in the view I've taken grids off. Then this is, let's say, number of policies. This is how you do it. Get it? Now if every time this is maybe coming from some pivot table and stuff, maybe this is linked to a pivot table. Let's say this is linked to this pivot table, which is here, F23. This is, let's say, some pivot table data, or yellow. The moment you change some number here, it will reflect there. That is the idea. Get it?